Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It is 6:07. Good Monday morning and happy President's Day to you. Thanks for tuning in. If you are heading out, school, work, or what have you, we got you covered all morning long, including a conversation at 6:35 with SPOTSYLVANIA Supervisor Drew Mullins. They're trying to draw a line in the sand as the Democrats in Richmond try to take their freedoms away. Not in Spotsylvania, dang it. 7:05 brings us Joe DeGeneva, and then at 8:05 we'll speak with Jonathan Alexander from the Maryland Family Institute. That's all coming up. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Bethany Mandel.
Good morning, Larry O'Connor. What a pleasure to be here with you.
It really is delightful to see your shining face on a Monday morning. You bring joy to so many people's lives.
Oh, thank you so much. You know what I'm doing during this commercial break? I'm trying to be less frenetic about getting through my to-do list during breaks. I'm reading through the book of Joshua. I'm trying to do a chapter a day, and it started last week, and I never started it, and so I decided that I am going to catch up during commercial breaks.
The book of Joshua does not end well for the Hebushites or the Moabites or the there's a lot of bites that end up biting it, basically.
End up biting it.
As those Jews marauded through the Holy Land. It was promised to them, milk and honey. Speaking of the promised land and the land of milk and honey, let's talk about raw sewage getting dumped into the Potomac, shall we? As temperatures started to get warmer and warmer, I think we're all getting an idea of how toxic it's going to be. The Virginia Department of Health has now finally made some sort of proclamation with regard to Alexandrians and others along the Potomac to basically have nothing at all to do with the Potomac water, as it is absolutely laden with raw sewage. This is the first announcement from any official entity in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Your governor still has not said word one about it. Neither have your two U.S. senators. In fact, if you go to Senator Mark Warner's X feed, it's nothing but Minnesota. He's more interested in what's going on in the state of Minnesota than he is in the Commonwealth of Virginia. You know, when you're a U.S. senator for a state, a big part of what your job is to make sure that your state is protected from malfeasance from other states. And that's exactly what's happened here, as Maryland and D.C. have both participated in the poisoning process of the waterways of the Chesapeake Bay. But Virginia Democrats won't say a word because, well, they're more interested in being Democrats than being Virginians. Here's how NBC News reported the latest out of the sewage dump. Take a listen.
There have been a number of people out and about in this area, the Washington-Salem Marina. The ice has melted here along the river, and we've seen quite a bit of wildlife. Now, I've been walking along the shoreline here looking for evidence of this raw sewage spill, looking for any kind of raw sewage or dead or dying fish or any kind of wildlife that might be in any kind of distress. And we have not seen any of that. And there's also no smell that we can detect down here. But again, the ice is melted here, and there's quite a bit of wildlife out in the river. Here's what else we know. The Virginia Department of Health, along with Alexandria's Health Department, have issued their advisory out of an abundance of caution, reminding people who like to use the river that it could be hazardous to their health.
You think?
The advisory says people should keep an eye out for discolored water and dead or dying fish. Officials say they intend to post signs with the same warning. At a hearing in Annapolis yesterday, D.C. Water testified it is expected to take another 6 weeks to fix the pipe that ruptured and an additional 9 months for a permanent repair to be complete.
9 months, Bethany. D.C. Water estimates 9 months for a permanent repair to this disaster.
So they say 9 months because no one is breathing down their necks. You think it takes 9 months to fix a pipe that's just dumping sewage into a river? It only takes 9 months. If you got nothing better to do, nothing else
because
on.
There's no political pressure. What's the downside? Yep. If it takes 12 months, who said what? Is anyone going to get fired? Is anyone going to lose their job? Will anyone lose the election? Nope. That's the beauty of one party rule. It reminds me of the BP oil spill.
Yeah.
Remember where it would just keep and the Obama administration seemed absolutely hapless in anything that can be done about it. So we'll just watch all of the oil continue to spill. I think, though, that actually was a little harder because it was on the ocean floor, or the Gulf floor, to be specific. The extent of the sewage. I love the NBC News reporter. Hey, there's no signs of any raw sewage. Really, Jim? Why don't you take a glassful and drink it right here on our camera? Let's watch. You think there's no signs? Abundance of caution? Really? I don't think it's an abundance of caution. I think it's basic common sense caution that you shouldn't have anything to do with the water. It's gross. It's absolutely horrible. And the fact that they're not saying it'll take 9 months, it feels like the first third of Atlas Shrugged. Where everything's falling apart and nobody has any idea on what to do about it or any ability to do anything about it.
And 9 months puts us past the summer. I was looking at the map last night, and it appears, and I'm curious if you've heard about this. First of all, how long is this going to stay in the water? How long is this water going to be toxic is my first question. But my second question related to the calendar is this going to make the water in Virginia Beach unsafe over the summer? Because the way that it looks like that's the case. That is a massive, massive tourism problem for the entire state of Virginia if people can't go swimming in Virginia Beach this summer.
That's right. If you look at the map of the projected toxic contamination, it does. It goes all the way down the Potomac, all the way down the Chesapeake Bay, all the way down into Hampton Roads area. It also goes as north as St. Michael's and to the southern points of Kent Island. It doesn't reach all the way up to Annapolis based on the projections, but, they're just getting started. Don't count them out. Anything is possible with this. It's a horrific disaster. And
my husband was driving to the Kennedy Center last night from where we live, and we were sitting at dinner last night, and him and our daughter both said, we saw a weird number of dead deer on our drive. And not related, we weren't talking about this. He just happened to mention, golly, we saw a lot of dead deer. And I said, where was it? And it was right next to where the site was that it started spilling, which is Glen Echo, and driving into DC. And he said we saw multiple deer and a raccoon, and there was cleanup happening. And it makes sense that this is going to be catastrophic for local wildlife because this is their water source, and if it's deadly toxic for humans, naturally wouldn't it also be for wildlife? So we're not only going to be dealing with the water disaster as it is, but I think we're going to be dealing with a full-scale ecological situation because they're going to have to not just clean up the waterways, they're going to have to clean up all the dead animals everywhere.
Wow. That could be it. Also, I thought I saw over the weekend, I don't think it happened in D.C., but I know that in Arlington County, the local government approved some sharpshooters to sort of cull the herd of deer over the weekend or in February. So there has been some activity there, but I don't think that's happened in D.C. and Rock Creek Park. That happens sometimes. Yeah. And maybe that's what it was. It could have been the results. They were seeing the cleanup of culling the herd over the weekend. Or, yes, absolutely, it could be the deer drinking the water. The current advice right now from health officials is don't even touch the water.
Yeah.
Don't
go near it.
Forget about drinking it. Don't touch it. What is this going to do to the Cherry Blossom Festival? Where the tidal basin already has a bit of a stench to it during the Cherry Blossom Festival on the warmer days.
And this is America 250.
And this is America 250 as well. And I'm telling you, you know what? We've got a little bit more on this and how the media is covering this story or not covering it or covering it up in a moment. First, though, it's 6:15. We've been talking about this sewage spill now, I think, for, I want to say 2 weeks as the first signs of this. And, of course, that was during the icy conditions, so it wasn't quite as prevalent. And you didn't have quite the number of video footage. For television news, if there's no video, they don't really want to talk about it, right? And now you've got video footage of the water just flowing into the Potomac and that murky, listen, the Potomac's already kind of murky as it is, but now it looks just super gross. Oh, you just heard the update on that abandoned brick-lined sewer that was starting to collapse under 14th Street. You heard Jamie Whitten say that that's now been filled with concrete and this road has been supported and all is well with the world there. But here's the interesting thing. DC Water decided to take to their social media page and ran a poem on Valentine's Day. Roses are red, concrete is gray, 14th Street's reopened. We're clearing the way. They're very excited about the fact, and that's cute on social media to do a poem. The responses, though, from people were not incredibly romantic, as they were saying, hey, maybe do something about the sewage water. Don't be giving us poems on X because you were able to solve this problem. How about you go and clean up the river that's now going to take 9 months to fix? But, yeah, sometimes they have a 10-year when it comes to social media. But have you noticed that the Washington Post has barely covered this at all? I went to their X feed. You can search on an account for a word. I searched for sewage, and I searched for Potomac, and I saw nothing over the last 4 weeks about this story. I'm sure that they've published some accounts, but this weekend the search engine on the WashingtonPost.com website was not working. I guess they got laid off, too. I'm not sure. Have you noticed anything in the Post?
I have not. And it's funny that you say that because I was just thinking, golly, wouldn't it be nice to have a newspaper, a local newspaper that cared about such things?
Yeah.
And we don't. And this is, we were reliably assured that this was a threat to our First Amendment rights to have these layoffs at the Washington Post. But I think Jeff Bezos, sees what's up. He knows what time it is, as the kids say. Mm-hmm. And this is the biggest local story that I can possibly remember. And we've seen no coverage. And really, I mean, unless you're a listener of WMAL, you probably didn't know about this until maybe this weekend. But there's so many unanswered questions. Why is this going to take 9 months? Are there other sewer lines in the area that are close to collapse as well? Are people going to be able to go swimming in Virginia Beach? What is this going to do to local there are so many angles.
What about the blue crabs?
I was saying that last night. I was saying, because we keep kosher, so we don't know anything about crabs, but I was like, Maryland, it's like the thing of Maryland.
Huge. Crabs and oysters are a huge part of the industry, the culinary industry and the food market here.
Are they toxic?
Bay.
I would think so, right?
You would think. I would not want to have a blue crab coming out of this, although, they are literally bottom feeders, crabs are. So
That's why we Jews don't eat them.
I know. They're dirty. They're unclean.
They're already gross.
I know,
but these are all the questions that a media that was local could be asking.
Yeah.
And I have not seen any of them asked or answered.
Right. No, it is. And by the way, these are the newspaper. The Washington Post at this point has surrendered covering Washington. Their impression of Washington is a 1 mile stretch down Pennsylvania Avenue, starting at the Capitol and ending at the White House. That's what they cover. That's what they think Washington is.
I will say that they have really covered Lee Zeldin's announcement about the tailpipes.
Yes.
So they're on the environment beat.
Carbon
just
emissions.
Not quite the beat that Washingtonians would like them to be.
If you're really a environmentalist, I would think that you would be concerned about raw sewage being dumped by the hundreds of millions of gallons into the Potomac River. To catch you up, by the way, this collapse happened on January 19th. It was right near Cabin John.
A month ago.
7 miles up the river from Georgetown, right within the Capitol Crescent Trail, within the Beltway there. It initially released about 40 million gallons of raw wastewater a day into the river. Now, they say that it's been contained, at least most of the flow has been contained using bypass pumps, but we also saw 2 of those bypass pumps fail about a week ago. So that's not a permanent solution. To keep the sewage moving while repairs continue, crews are using a segment of the C&O Canal as a temporary open-air sewage conduit. which I guess makes sense to keep it out of the main river. But that's also the trail that most, I ran a half marathon on the C&O Trail from Georgetown up toward Cabin John. That's going to be delightful, near Fletcher's Boathouse up there. It doesn't go as far as Old Anglers Inn, by the way. It's just on the inside of the Beltway, and the American Legion Bridge is where the actual drainage channel is now overflowing. The stench, by the way, from people who have been right up there, even D.C. Council member Charles Allen, who you would think would want to, shine this turd, as it were. He came back from the spill location where it was and where it was being bypassed to the C&O Canal. He said the stench was unbearable. The quote here is, "It lingers on you after you leave." Just from being in the area. And it's February. Just wait till April and May. 624.
Yep. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
6:37. O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in here on a busy Monday morning. Despite the holiday, we're all over it because we don't take a holiday. That's not true. I think we take Christmas morning. That's it. Coming up at 7:05, Joe DeGenova will be our guest. 8:05, Jonathan Alexander will be our guest from the Maryland Family Institute. It's Larry O'Connor with Bethany Mandel, who does not take Christmas, by the way.
I mean, you just really exposed me and my hypocrisy for all to see, how I don't do Valentine's, but I do St. Patrick's. So I don't know if I'm ever talking about another holiday with you ever again. I just might put
we always
in my
love you.
non-existent contract.
Even before you were co-hosting with us here during the holidays, Christmas holidays, you were always our go-to Jew. That was
true.
That was always your title
Heather
here on the show. Joining us right now is Spotsylvania. Supervisor Mullins is like, what the hell have I gotten myself into here? Spotsylvania County Supervisor Drew Mullins, who's trying to protect the good people of his county from the lunacy in Richmond. Supervisor Mullins, thanks for joining us.
Hey, my pleasure. Nice to see you guys. Good morning.
So I see that you've passed a measure here naming the Spotsylvania County as a sanctuary county. How does that actually go into effect if Abigail Spanberger, your governor, starts to sign into law some of these draconian rollbacks of Second Amendment rights?
Well, what we did was reaffirm a 2019 declaration with our county. This time what's different is I added language that would cover the responsibilities involved with the Second Amendment. As a gun owner, also that includes training and accessories and all the different things necessary for the safety of being a gun owner.
Okay.
And if what we have is the blessing also or support of our Second Amendment, or our constitutional office, our Sheriff's Department.
How does this play out, though? I mean, if let's say a law is passed out of Richmond that, in fact, runs contrary to your resolution. Will you activate a lawsuit? Will you wait for these laws to be enforced by state police, and then you'll have a lawsuit that you'll fight on behalf of a resident of Spotsylvania County? I mean, what would the next step be?
Well, that's the good thing about having a constitutional office, Sheriff's Department. The state police don't have jurisdiction, so they would not be allowed to enforce it inside the county.
So I'm looking at our list of all of the House and Senate bills that have been introduced that are gun related in the Virginia session for 2026, and there's a lot of really significant sort of proposed legislative items. Are there any here that kind of stand out to you as far as like this is a complete assault on our Second Amendment rights that folks can sort of call into their representative and oppose specifically?
Well, I would say that's the basis for what we did. It's clearly an assault on our Second Amendment rights, and we have support of our elected officials that, at least in the current jurisdiction or before the gerrymandering issue pops up, that are in support of it as well. We have to wait and see what actually comes through, what gets passed and signed before we get too excited about it. But some of these things might not make it out of committee, but there are quite a few that are direct assaults. We think that they're direct assaults on our rights as citizens, constitutional rights.
So is this is it just Second Amendment rights that you're concerned about, or are you seeing some other issues coming out of Richmond that your body might take up as well?
Well, I think there's a lot to be concerned about. I mean, it's alarming how right out of the gate the legislature chose the issues they chose. And so we're prepared to, or we're becoming prepared to make more resolutions to let Richmond know just how we feel, and that we're not just going to idly sit by and wait for them to assault us, our rights at all.
Right.
Are you in addition to this sanctuary action that you've taken, are you encouraging your constituents to contact the legislature? Is there any sort of effort on that end to fight all of these assaults on your Second Amendment rights in Virginia?
I would say yes. I mean, our first action was this resolution, and the next step, at every opportunity we have, is to inform our constituents in our respective districts to do just that. We're trying to get out in front of these things first with our own resolutions.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. Well, listen, I appreciate you joining us on this, and I know we're interested to see where this goes. Has there been any indication from the Attorney General, Jay Jones, in response to you that he may fight this and actually make an example of you or your county?
We haven't heard anything yet. We feel like just with the recent issues on the Second Amendment with D.C. versus Heller and so on, that this is a settled issue, and to be quite frank, we welcome any attempt by Jay Jones or anyone to come after us. Come and take it.
I believe I'm reading between the lines. I think you said just now, "Bring it on, Mr. Attorney General." I believe
pretty much. That's the way I feel. I mean, this is a settled issue, but we welcome the fight. We're pretty proud people here in Spotsylvania County.
Yes, amen to that. Well, listen, Drew Mullins, thanks for joining us on this. I appreciate it, and keep us updated. Well, last week we spoke with your counterpart in Lynchburg, Virginia, the city councilman Chris Feraldi, and they've made a similar move. So we expect to see this play out, and we'd love to stay on top of it.
I welcome it. Come back and check on it, see how it's going.
We sure will. It is 6:43. It's Girl Scout cookie season, which is always terrifying as you're trying to make your way around the office, and there's that one mom who tries to corner you at the coffee machine and get you to sign up to subsidize her daughter's desire to get some sort of patch. But whatever your coworker is trying to force you into buying with your Thin Mints and your Do-Si-Dos, it's nothing compared to what this 6-year-old girl in Pennsylvania has done. She has broken a world record, Bethany Mandel, 87,000 boxes of cookies from this girl who seems very mild-mannered. She's not even a Girl Scout. She's a brownie at that age, if that. Or what's the blue vest? I don't even know what the blue vest is. Brownies are the brownie. Is that brownie?
Yeah,
the blue vest?
You're right. So she is a Girl Scout. So I want to make one correction, Larry.
Yeah, please.
Her mom sold 87,000 boxes of Girl Scouts.
Really what's going on here, isn't it?
We're just being honest.
The 6-year-old girl
on the interweb
did not sell 87,000 boxes of cookies. You're right. But there's a nary a mention of mom, who has obviously been using some strong arm tactics to make sure that this kid sold all these cookies. Have you? We never even came close to this with our daughters. Thankfully, neither of them wanted to do Girl Scouts. Have you had to deal with this, especially with your little ballerina, your prima ballerina? Did she?
So we had signed her up for Girl Scouts when she was kind of young. I think she was 8 or 9. And I knew about Girl Scout cookies because I love a Tagalog personally.
You're a Tagalog person. Interesting.
Oh, heck yeah,
I'm a Do-Si-Do person. No,
at least you're not a Thin Mint. At least you're not a Thin Mint.
No,
Seth is a Thin Mint guy. Brush your teeth and eat chocolate. Why bother?
Exactly.
Anyway, I digress. so I had heard about Girl Scout cookies, obviously, but I was so blown away by how pervasive it was in her experience. Every single activity was, today we're gonna make signs to do cookies. Today we're going to practice our math of if someone hands you a 20, this is what you give back to them. And then it was just like, we're going here, we're going here, we're going here. And I raised my hand. I was like, are they going to do like things besides sell cookies? Are
Where's
they going to
camping? Where's the
yeah.
campfire songs? And
are they going to go hiking? Are they going to do things? And I had signed her up because she's homeschooled and I wanted her to make local friends, and I thought this would be a great way to do it.
Sure.
But she was completely uninterested in becoming a glorified cookie saleswoman. And I don't understand why parents sign up for this experience. Why would you want to spend your weekends and free time selling something for someone else that you get no benefit from? No profit, no benefit. What a scam all of this is.
It's slave labor, basically.
Yes.
And they say, but you're learning all about the free market and commerce.
No, because in the free market, you make money. There's none of that here. This is, you work for free.
You get a patch and you get celebration. So what do you think the profit margin is on a box of cookies? Because this little 6-year-old in Pennsylvania, 87,000 boxes of cookies.
I mean, the profit margin for her is nothing because she's trying to get a trip to Niagara Falls. I mean, what her mom could have done was just bring this child to Niagara Falls without pimping her out on social media try to sell tens of thousands of boxes of not so great cookies. The
Girl Scouts of Minnesota have offered a new anti-ice way to sell your cookies because the ice presence is continuing.
Of course.
So they're offering more ways to buy cookies as safety precaution. A safety precaution. Okay, so they're letting illegals be Girl Scouts?
So this is the other thing that's wrong with Girl Scouts is that they've gone woke. And it's not just Girl Scouts, it's also Boy Scouts. And it was funny
they're not even Boy Scouts anymore. They're just Scouts.
Which honestly, fine, because then I signed my daughter up for Scouts, hoping that they too would do outdoors things. And you know what they did? They sent me a mandatory this is Boy Scouts, which is now Scouts. They sent me a mandatory video that my then kindergartner had to watch about how strangers are going to kidnap them off the streets. And I, thank God, pre-watched it beforehand and was like, I can't show this to him. He'll be so scared. And then there was a mandatory internet safety training. And at that point, none of my children had access to any devices. And so I told the scout leader, I was like, I'm not having my kids do this training because they've never been on the internet. And they were like, sorry, this is mandatory. And I was like, okay, yet again, I'm asking, what about the campfire? Right. Where is the camping?
Where's
and
the
so I pulled
camping?
Them out of Scouts too. We're Scout dropouts, Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, because all I wanted to do was camp. Didn't happen.
There's always American Heritage Girl, which I'm told is a really good alternative.
I would do it. The problem is they probably meet on Saturdays, but I'm just, the whole Scout model is very flawed.
Seth, you need to start a whole Orthodox Jew Scout thing
with all my free time. With all my free time.
There's got to be a joke there. It's 6:54.